Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. What's up, everybody? It's Classik Talk number 9. Today we got a good show. Want to talk about a few things I've been watching, listening to. We got an interview in a little bit with Ameera. If you want to fast forward right to the interview, get right to that. If you're on YouTube, just look right below. I'll put a little link or timestamp to when the interview starts with her. Once again, welcome to the show. This is Classik Talk number 9. We have timeless conversations. I talk about what I've been doing, what I've been watching, listening to, paying attention to. I was watching the Alicia Keys Tiny Desk performance today. Tiny Desk, NPR Tiny Desk. If you're not familiar, check all the performances out on YouTube. I'm sure their website, but the Alicia Keys one came out today and it was super dope. Like, it had me tearing up. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was so pure, and like, she was a powerful woman. And then she had, the band with her and backup singers and musicians, and man, the groove they were on and the level they were on, the wavelength they were on together, it was beautiful. I was watching that earlier, so I would definitely recommend watching that. I'll put a link to that too. If you're on YouTube, again, link down there. You can go click it, take you right to the video. I'll post a little sample video right here, you know what I mean, just to see a little preview. Can't put any audio. I don't want to get the video taken down or have copyright issues. But yeah, I would definitely check that out. Alicia Keys' Tiny Desk performance. Show I've been watching lately is Dave on Hulu. Well, it's on FX, but I think it plays through Hulu. Yeah, I watched it on Hulu. Lil Dicky, the rapper, artist, musician, actor, like super talented. Pretty sure he had his hand in writing this show and doing all that sorts of good stuff, directing it, I'm not sure, but definitely acting and writing all that type of stuff, and it's hilarious. It's called Dave. It kind of, I don't want to say mimics his life, but it's kind of about Lil Dicky's life in a sense. A lot of real stories and true stories. I'm sure some of it's amped up and exaggerated, but overall, like, the topics they touch on is super funny, but it gets super deep, super serious, touches on some real issues and real life stuff, relationship stuff, like masculinity issues with men and showing emotions, and it's everywhere. Like, it'll have you everywhere. It'll have you laughing, it might have you crying, it might have you feeling this way or that way. But Dave is definitely one of the dopest shows I've seen in a minute. That's really funny, like genuinely funny. Like, the writing's great, the acting's great. The guy who plays Dave's manager, best friend, I'm not sure his name. I know he has a podcast. I've been watching his podcast since then. I think it's called The Whiskey Ginger is the name of the podcast. I forget the guy's name who plays that role, but it's hilarious. Gata, Lil Dicky's like hype man or brother too. You know what I mean? Like, he's hilarious. It's just a great show. I would check that out. Dave. It's on Hulu, FX, whatever. Season 1's already out. I think it's 10 episodes, 10 episodes, something around there. Somewhere around there. But yeah, check that out. It's a dope show. Music wise, something that stood out to me recently was Lil Baby. The record is called Bigger Picture. There's a video out. Song, obviously, Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. But the message behind it, like, it's documenting the times right now and how he feels. And Lil Baby is a dope ass rapper. Like, if you're not familiar, I don't know if you listen to hip hop, you listen to rap, what type of music you're into, but if you like, to me, it's like street gospel, ghetto gospel. Like, you know what I mean? He's from the streets. He's from Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? Rough area, like, grew up, you know what I'm saying? Struggling, all that type of stuff. Ghetto baby, ghetto child, but grew into what he is now and made it out and made something for himself. But if you listen to his music, some people might be taken back by his flow or like maybe delivery, maybe not give it a chance because of the production or whatever the case may be. But I probably listened to all of his mixtapes, but like his albums, like he's got a project with I think Marlo, To the Hard Way. That's one of my favorites of his. His mixtapes. I said his albums. He put an album out I think this year called My Turn. Honestly, I haven't dove into it too deep, but Bigger Picture, the video I'm talking about, the song I'm talking about, it's incredible. Like, once again, had me tearing up. I don't know if I'm in an emotional place, but things have been touching me, like real emotions, real organic, genuine music and video and film, and like it's a good time for that, to connect with people. So yeah, check that video out. Once again, put a little preview of the video. Yeah, go check it out. YouTube, all that stuff. Go listen to the music. I would recommend watching the video first, and then yeah, if you like the music, listen to the music too. But the video is powerful. The music, the message, it's all powerful. Yeah, that's what I've been listening to, watching lately. So Alicia Keys, A Tiny Desk performance, Dave, hilarious, Lil Baby, Bigger Picture, video, song, incredible. Yeah, I would say go check out those things. In the meantime, if you don't want to do that right now, we can get right into this interview. We can get into this interview with Ameera. She was a guest on our last episode, actually. We had a show back in Michigan not too long ago. We had an interview, did the Classik Talk. So the last episode was solely an interview with her. But she's back once again. She called in. We have her live via Zoom video chat, video call. It was a good conversation. We touched on a lot of topics. We touched on things going on right now. We touched on musicians and creators and artists. She has a podcast coming out, doula business she has, new music. So we'll get into all that. She'll talk about all that, and we'll dive into it. So without further ado, let's welcome back Ameera to Classik Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone, I want to introduce you.
Okay.
Ameera, once again, she was actually
what up?
On our last episode. For those who don't know, tell a little bit about yourself. Like, who's Ameera? What do you do? What do you love?
Who is Ameera? So for those who don't know, I am a mother, first and foremost. Secondly, I am a musician, and I am also the founder of Motivating Motherhood, which is a labor doula company, and currently working on a podcast. So that's really
the doula thing, because that's kind of new to me. Like, I didn't know that.
Okay.
I heard the word before. Like, explain for listeners who may not know what a doula is, and then explain what you're doing and with the whole.
So there's different types of doula. In particular, what I do, I'm a labor doula. A labor doula provides emotional and physical support for a laboring mother. So I would help them throughout their pregnancy to provide them. So it's like a non-judgmental support. I mean, for me, when I was pregnant, I think talking to complete strangers, I could really fully express myself as a pregnant woman. And not have that bias and not having opinion. When family and friends, they love you and they mean well, but you can't like voice something to them that is really troubling. And I think it's because we don't want our families to see us in a light of we need help. Women are afraid to ask for help. I think that's the one thing that is a very common thing. I don't want to say all women, because there are some women that are probably, it comes very quick to them. But I think when it comes to emotional support and like feelings of insecurities, especially you're getting ready to become a mother, all these things are happening externally and you're not able to fully process them. Mm-hmm. Being around friends and family, because everybody wants to celebrate and this and that, and like it's exciting, but then there's that feeling of nervousness that always, I don't care who it is, kicks in. Every mother, no matter what, is nervous. You're about to bring life into this world. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to help women come to terms with what they're feeling and completely surrender it. When I went into my delivery room, I surrendered that situation and I said, God, whatever is your plan, let it be. I don't care if I have to have a C-section. I don't care if I'm going to go into labor naturally, if my water breaks, if it doesn't break, whatever the case, just let it be, you know? And I had an amazing experience. And I think it was because I let it go. My husband was a great support. Not every woman has a supportive male in their life. So it's like, or a supportive partner. Sometimes you need, like I had my husband was great. The nurses that were with me in that room were out of this world. My midwife was out of this world, man. She kept me focused. She knew my personality type and got to know me as a person and was like, focus, Ameera. And I'm like, that's what I need. I need somebody yelling at me, telling me to focus, bro. And she knew that in that moment. And I'm like, sometimes but not every woman is as lucky as I was. You know what I mean? So I want to be there to be an advocate for that woman, because when you're in the heat of the moment, if you like, I had a plan, but I loosely followed my plan because these things are unpredictable. But there are certain things that if you're feeling a certain way, vocalize it. My husband like watched me sleep through contractions. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough. It's a tough thing to experience. But if you in your mind know you have somebody there that's there strictly for your behalf, like only for you. The baby has the team of doctors and everything. The mother needs, besides the partner, sometimes an extra push. Like,
support,
hey,
guidance.
I'm focused on you. Like, it's just focused on the woman, like solely
like,
on her.
Guidance, you're saying, like physical, emotional, you're saying being there.
Yes.
So it's like, someone might call you in the middle of the night if they need you type thing.
Yep.
Like you're there during labor, during that. It's just helping someone, not a stranger, but someone who's not family or friend. You're saying that can help, who's been there obviously too, and like, are there doulas who aren't mothers as well? Are doulas usually mothers or?
Not all doulas are mothers.
Okay. So it's just helper, just someone helping along the way. And just somebody
there. It's kind of like therapy, and it's kind of like having a coach, you know, rooting you along to cross the finish line. Because it is, I mean, I for me, like, I got discouraged because I didn't know what was happening, and my daughter wasn't coming out. You know, it was like 2 hours and 46 minutes of pushing, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? If I had somebody there saying, it's not you, this is what's going on, the baby is not positioned, nobody was vocalizing that to me.
Right.
So I thought it was me. And then my husband's like, it's not you. And I listen to my husband, but I always need, like, I don't know. I love my husband, and we always joke around because my daughter does the same thing too. It's like, he'll tell me something and I'll dismiss it. But then if I hear it from somebody else, like, I'll hear him saying it. So then I hear it from that person because he already said it.
Like my daughter, or just, what is it like?
I don't know. It's just like, what do you mean? Like that? My daughter does the same thing. Like, if I'm teaching her something, she'll like hear me. But then when she sees somebody else acting it out besides me, she's like, that's what my mom was.
That's what I'm saying. Is it like a confirmation? Is it like, or like,
yes,
like, okay,
like a reassurance.
I didn't just hear it from one person. I heard it from someone else. Like
I heard it from somebody I love very closely, but then hearing it from somebody else, like, validated what they were saying.
Right.
It's like a validate. It's more so like validation.
Yeah.
Because like my parents would teach me shit all the time, you know, like now in my adulthood, I'm like, oh, that's what my dad was talking about. Oh, that's what my mom was talking about. You know, like it's fun. Oh, I'm like adjusting this. It's like now as an adult, like I see, and everybody would tell me, you don't realize what your parents are saying to you when you're young. It's especially being like a child, you know, like you don't know until you become a parent yourself and you're like, oh, it all makes sense now. Like, it's just a switch. And yeah, it's.
So speaking of the doula thing, so then with all that said, that's part of your business now. You're doing that as.
That is my side hustle. That is my side hustle. I actually just accepted a position as church administrator for the Grosse Pointe Unitarian Church.
Okay.
So I'm very excited. It's definitely a way different experience. I've been working for since I was 16. So 29 now. How many years is that? 13 years. I've been like in the workforce. I started from the bottom, you know, like literally started from like, I was like a cleaner, like I cleaned people's houses and did that work. I mean, granted, it was a business. Like I didn't realize it at the time, but we were operating our own business by cleaning people's homes. And then now it's like, I went from no education, dropped out of high school at 15, no education. I was cleaning people's homes. I was babysitting people's children, you know, like that was what I did. I wanted to help my family and I wanted to do my part. You know, I felt like that was important, that I would do my part in my home. And it took me until I was like 23 to say, you know what, I've done all the bottom end jobs. Now it's time for me to like really step my game up. I need to educate myself. I need to figure out what I want to do, what kind of position I want to be in as a person. I love my music and it's my passion and I will never stop. But now that I have a child, I need to think about her future and like placing myself in positions that I can give her the best possible future. And I didn't want to settle. I quit my last job. I loved where I worked. The direction we were moving in was not for me. And being willing to recognize that it's time to make a move. And I think we've talked about this too. It's like sometimes you got to get off the bus. Sometimes you got to get on the bus, and sometimes people come on your bus and vice versa. We've talked about this, and it was time for me to leave that bus. And I had to like kind of chill for a little while. And now I'm getting back on a new bus. Yep. But this bus is the bus I've been like literally praying for. It's like the bus with all the bells and whistles, you know, that it's
aligned with everything that you are. Like it makes sense for everything. It all
made total sense. And I couldn't like, even if I could have planned it, I mean, granted, I'm just getting started. You start off any job, 90-day probation period. But when I think of this job and what it represents for me, it makes me think I need to do my best possible. I need to fucking work my ass off because this is going to be such a difference. Like, I feel like it's a difference maker for my life.
And explain the church too, because it's, what is it called? Because the concept of it too is pretty cool. You're explaining it before.
So they are Unitarians, and they, I don't want to misquote their beliefs, but they believe that there's universal truth in all religions. From my understanding, they have a website. You could go more in depth and like really learn about their beliefs. But from my understanding, any given weekend, there could be Christians, Buddhists, like, you know, all different background people, and that every single human has their own spiritual experience, but that there's universal truth in all of it. And for me and my beliefs, I'm open to that. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it's necessary that we hear from other people's perspectives, because my walk is different from anyone else's walk, but we're all walking. And
in like the grand scheme of things, you look into the religions, like, I mean, a lot of them are the universal truth. They all are saying a lot of the same things, but the way it's been structured, there's a lot of division between it now. So if there's literally people having wars and killing people over what they believe. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if y'all sat down and talked about some shit, I bet y'all would come to some like agreement or like some sort of common ground.
100%.
Like, oh, you believe that? I didn't really know that. I was just looking at this like, so that concept or that type of church or that type of environment, that sounds dope, because I think that's what life is. I mean, it is a multitude or just a combination of all religions, and you know what I mean? Like, not one,
I agree.
One person wrong or vice versa. It's like, who's to say what? Like,
exactly. Like, you nailed it. Who's to say what? You can't. Life is so like, it's so vast. There's so much out there. And it's like, I used to think that like, there has to be only one direct anything, you know? But if I believe that, then it shuts the opportunity for other people. You know what I mean? For me to express what I feel. It kind of eliminates like the shoving of my belief down someone's throat, but being willing to hear somebody else's perspective and where they come from, to discern for myself what I believe is the truth.
You could be blocking blessings. You could be blocking stuff coming in. You could be blocking stuff going out to help people.
It's to help people. I could be like shutting. Yeah, exactly. The blessing opportunity, like being able to bless somebody's life and like meet them where they are, and them also doing the same for me, because I'll talk to like goes back to talking to complete strangers. Sometimes you can fully be yourself. and be able to express how you feel about things. And I feel like I've met like angels on earth. Like, you know, like it's amazing. Like meeting people that like just can just see into your spirit right there. And you've never met this person before. That is truly a miraculous happening on this earth that we can never fully comprehend. You can be having the worst day and meet somebody who's like, yeah, I've been there. I completely understand. You're like, all right, I'm supposed to hear this person's, okay, so tell me what happened with you and how did you, like, how are you dealing with it? Like, help me to understand. And it's amazing.
God will just bring people into your life. God walks through people. God talks through people. Like, you know what I mean? They might not even be saying, like, they might be saying something you have no idea. And I'm like, oh, I think God's speaking to me through you right now. Like, they might have no idea, though.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just.
And they're like yelling it at, oh my God. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes I need it like yelled at me for me to hear it. And I'm like, and I've done that, where I've had to yell at somebody because I knew that that's how they were going to receive it. You know what I mean?
It gets through, yeah.
Sometimes we need an ass kicking. I don't care. That's how you discipline yourself. That's how you humble yourself. Is sometimes you need a stern, you know, parenting too. You know, I'm not saying like physically beating your ass, but like I think we can beat somebody's ass through like telling them the truth. I think truth is relative, right? Truth is subjective to whoever it pleases. But there's a way you can relay truth and be respectful, you know? And I think I love telling people the truth. One thing, it really, I was always told that sometimes it's a bad thing to be too honest. And I'm like, but how are people going to know that I'm keeping it real with them if I tell them lies?
Right. It's approach too. Like it's approach. You don't got to go straight for the throat. You know what I mean? Like try to.
Yeah, like addressing behaviors and addressing things, but coming from really coming from a place of love and understanding. And like, if this was me, how would I want somebody to approach me if I was doing this exact thing? And then speaking into I did. I'm going to cut back to like the Every Woman show. And my girlfriend Donna said, like, it's going to be the first episode in that episode.
Let's cut back because we haven't talked about it yet. So maybe we should.
Okay, but I'm going to quote her. Because she said she learned to like meet people where they are by learning to meet herself in those spaces where she needed to be met. And I was like, damn, she nailed it. Like if you meet people where they are, it's by meeting yourself. Like if I was in this person's shoes, you know, it's so deep. If I was in this person's shoes, how would I want somebody to approach me? How would I need somebody to approach me? Sometimes you need to be that voice of reason. Sometimes you need to just say nothing because that's what that person needs. Sometimes you need to therapize. Sometimes you need to just have fun. It's all about what that person needs in that moment. And if that was you, what would you need?
And you can gain understanding from someone too, like by doing that, you know what I'm saying? Like if they act out a certain way, did certain things, like you can kind of put yourself at that situation at that level and then understand it from that point of view. Like,
100%.
You know? But speaking of, so you're quoting someone from a guest from a podcast you are working on coming out, right?
Yes.
And the name is what? You just said it. What's the name again?
The Every Woman Show.
The Every Woman Show.
The Every Woman from everywhere, from anything. I really feel like it keeps it so wide open because it could be any kind of woman, not just one kind. I mean, I don't know what it looks like in the future, but I know what it looks like right now. And I'm in the editing process. My goal is July 1st because I want to release it every Wednesday. So I'm like,
wait, hold on.
First,
I gotta
on a Wednesday.
I gotta interrupt you now because we haven't talked about this. Like, this episode is dropping on the 1st. Like,
yeah,
my day is Wednesday as well.
What?
That's what I'm saying. We haven't even talked about dates or date.
Oh my God.
Hold on. So we're dropping the same day, and we're both dropping the first. Our first, or not first, but our episode is dropping the first, and then every Wednesday from there. Okay.
Hey, wavelengths.
I had
What
to cut you
did
off.
I say when we first started?
What?
We're just recording conversations.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so the every woman show, right?
Yes.
It's gonna be every Wednesday, and like
every Wednesday.
So where did it come from? What kind of guests? Obviously women, but what are you talking about? Where is it? What's the inspiration come from?
So for this, the common denominator for this season is mothers. Mothers of all walks of life, all kinds, all ages. It's interesting because no two women have been this. So like when I started with the first one, I really shout out to Donna Kinniston. She was the first episode that I did. And when we were done, we both just sat there and she just goes, "That was amazing." And I'm like, that was seriously, it was so genuinely amazing. And that what we had experienced together was so, it was like this much time, but this much conversation. It was so, sometimes a little goes a long way, and this information you pack into like this much, we were done. It was like 15 minutes, but the conversation and you'll hear it was just so, it was perfect. And I think I even said that. I said, perfect. And I'm going to end it here, like, and from there on out, every woman, I'm like, I want to do all different kinds of women. So I've interviewed a preschool teacher / piano vocal coach, or vocal teacher and piano teacher. I've interviewed a physician's assistant turned patient advocate, a nurse, a Reiki master, social worker. This woman is like an all-in-one woman. She just loves. And one thing is I've interviewed women that all love helping people. And I think that's so incredible. And Donna, for instance, she's a personal fitness trainer. And she's a behavioral coach. So it's like no two women have been alike. And, I've had, they're all different. And a lot of them are like, we talk about career switching, going from one career into another. Like, because one of them, she started off as a recreational therapist, and now she does software development or like website design. Like she did, what did she call it? It's like she helps to create like this software that makes websites interactive. Like she makes websites super interactive. It's super interesting. So basically like I believe she's like a software developer. You can.
Something between like the doula, between the podcast, like doula, like a lot of these are like transition, like in motherhood, you transition from this to motherhood from just whatever normal, like whatever, not, I won't say normal, like, you know what I mean? There's a transition from a mother, like you're saying career transitions, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of this can probably help people too, not only women, just people in general, like who are like a fork in the road, like don't know what, like they want to go this way, maybe go this way, you know what I mean? It's like, it's being real and authentic, and not everything's perfect in life, and not everyone just chooses one career and everything's perfect from there on, you know what I mean? Like,
no, it's like
ups and downs, like
how being a mother helped launch them into changing careers or changing their mentality and their mindset. And it's just it's humbling to hear. Like it's very, very humbling to hear. Cause like for me, I went from, again, uneducated high school dropout, working, jobs that were essentially not going to help my future in any way. And I knew before having a child, I'm like, okay, I need to prepare myself for the day when I do have a child. What kind of parent do I want to become? That was always a big deal for me. I wrote it in my journals, and I said, if I have kids, this is the kind, I want to have my shit together before. I mean, you never really have your shit together. Like, let's be frank. Like people think you always, people look at people and think they have their shit together. Nobody ever really has their shit together. We're always evolving and getting new shit together. So for me, it was like, okay, I need a high school diploma. Boom, did that, got my high school diploma. And then I'm like, okay, now I want to work a job where I can like really be more hands-on with the organization and learning business. And I got to do that. I got given the opportunity to like really be mentored by my last boss. And he taught me how to start a business from complete scratch. Like I learned from that experience. I learned bookkeeping and how to keep a business organized and functioning and operating. And you can't put all your eggs in one basket. So I knew, okay, I need to have financial security because I have a child. But I also know that I want to help people in a different way. So there's the music, right? We help people in that sense. I think music is healing. It's the most natural form of healing. I've never really met a person that does not listen to music. Some type of music, whether it's religious or, religious or secular or, whatever. Music sound is in everything. And I'm like, okay, as now I'm going to school to become a bookkeeper, but I'm still working on my music. How does this tie in with my music? How can I make it tie in? And then I'm like, okay, I can learn how to operate a business for my music because it's a music. The music is a business. If you want to bear fruit from it, if you want to just give it away, you'll find fruit bearing other places. You know what I mean? But I knew that I couldn't put all my eggs in music. So I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to bear fruit from my music. I've worked so hard at it. But once I put myself in the mindset of a business owner, like Ameera as a musician, I'm the creative, but now I have to wear a different hat. Now I am the owner of my brand. So I have to take ownership of that music and of my person. And then I'm like, okay, but what can I do in my free time? Because I can do like music, I have a set schedule for. It's just like any other going to work. I have a set schedule for that. And I'm like, okay, so what can I do in my free time? I want to learn how to help women throughout their pregnancies. And that's where the doula life comes in. And I'm like, okay, I go to the classes and part of it was business training. And I sat there and I'm like, I already know all this shit. It's just another business. So I'm like the manager for all of my businesses right now. I'm managing them until it gets to a point where I can have somebody come underneath me and I can teach them what I know. And then it pays it forward. And then it pays it forward because now I can train people in bookkeeping. And now I can train another person to become a doula. And I can help I can help other women and empower other women in these career spaces that especially so like my main goal like within the next 5 years is to mentor somebody who's in the same kind of position that I was in growing up and help transition them into adulthood, because I had people helping me along the way, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, and I found myself being redirected into this new career path. All my training led up to this moment of now I'm becoming, now I'm entering into the church administration role, and I get to fully get my hands-on experience with full charge bookkeeping, something I've never done before. Like I've done bookkeeping, but now I get to really get my hands in depth, more in depth. So I get to learn even further, but it's a different kind of functioning business. But church, I don't want to say church is a business, but you have to treat it like so because there's money coming in So you have to figure out where it's going and who it's helping and where it's going towards. And that's public information. The churches that I've been to, you go online and you see all the financial statuses. The person that handles that would be me.
Mm.
So if I have to make sure my end is correct so that the people that are coming in, that are pouring into this environment, that they're aware of what's going on and that it's accurate information.
So a lot of it, like outside of the bookkeeping realm, but a lot of it, what you're doing is healing, helping. Like, you know what I'm saying? That seems naturally you're a healer, you're healing, you're helping people. You know what I mean? The music you say is healing. Like, I'm a believer in that. Like the music, well, for me personally, it heals when creating. You know what I'm saying? So if it heals when creating, it could probably heal when releasing to someone else. You know what I mean? It could probably help them, you know what I mean, along the way. Actually, I want to talk more about music too. I want to talk about music you released because you've been releasing music. You got a couple singles you put out recently, a couple solo songs. Name them, like.
Stop being so humble. You know our track. Oh my gosh, man! We just released Lies. What, 2 months ago?
Has it been 2 months? Yeah.
It was the end of April, so it's been a little over a month.
The Lies.
And Lies. You know, we're just getting started. We're just getting started. I don't even care right now. I think I'm just strapping in because I don't know where the destination is going. Like I don't know where the bus is going. We're gonna go back to the bus. I don't know where this bus is going, but I'm like, I'm in for this fucking ride.
Yeah.
Like I am ready. I'm strapped. I feel like I've been ready, and I've been ready for today. You know, like this moment. And when we did Lies, we recorded it like 2 years ago. I was pregnant. I was still pregnant with my daughter.
Mm.
And we knew it was special the moment we recorded it. I remember that day. We were just sitting there like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then I held on to it. And that's another thing. I really want to. I think for me, the one thing that I've always struggled with is letting things go. And from giving birth, I learned how to let things go. And that ties back into why I wanted to become a doula. It's because I want to help women learn how to let go of trying to control everything. Because, I mean, it's naturally thrust onto us. Like, we're like the caretakers of everything. So we're naturally mothers, whether we know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural instinct that just... A nurturer is more the term. So it's not even just like, there's a lot of nurturing men too. It's not to say, it's not without a doubt. The nurturing side of women, we pour into everything though. So I learned after having my daughter, through releasing, you know, and letting go, literally, she was let go from me. And that's what I have to do with my music. That's what I have to do with my knowledge of business. I have to just let these things go. My writing, telling people stories. I want those women to be able to let go. I think one of the interviews I did when I was done, because I had asked one of the women how she felt during her experience. She had to experience her experience to having her child was a very long process. It was not a walk in the park for this woman. And she shared her whole experience. But she shared with me what was happening to her and what she experienced. I wanted to address how she felt during that period.
So I see
when
that.
We were done.
Go ahead.
When we were done, she was like, she hadn't thought about that. She hadn't thought about how she was feeling throughout that whole thing.
Damn.
You know what I mean? When I'm talking about healing, I'm talking about real healing. The world right now needs to address things, not sweep them under the rug and hide them and disguise them and mask them with other things for us to worry about. Real healing begins when we start with us and allowing other people to address those feelings and fully address those feelings, not just shove it down, shove it down.
That's the feeling world, because we're living in the avatar world. Everyone's living in this avatar, like not everyone, but like the facade, the fake front. You know what I mean? Like especially with social media, you just put out.
I'm fine. How are you
Good.
doing?
Like you know what I mean?
Hey,
Like
everything's all great. It's not.
And I think
It's
getting
not.
vulnerable and being like sharing things, expressing like even what you're talking about the podcast and one of the seasons being about motherhood. Like I could see mothers, like especially pregnant women who are pregnant at the moment, listening to this and be like, wow, like they could really use that. You know what I mean? Like just talking about stories, like, relating to it, just sitting back listening to it, like damn, like you know what I mean? Like the world needs that. So through all forms, all mediums you're doing, I respect it. I admire it. So it's like
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like one thing I always hear like, oh, you're an ambitious young lady. It's like, no, I don't have many ambitions. I have only one. And that's helping people transform. Because I feel like, we don't realize how much alike we are with a butterfly. We put ourselves in a cocoon and eventually we learn how to spread our wings. We are like the butterfly, and I feel like right now I'm like the cocoon just came off, the same as me giving birth to my child and giving birth to a song or giving birth to a new career opportunity, or you know what I mean? Like birthing experiences is a real thing and we do it every day. We wake up and it's a new life. It's a new day and we don't realize that. And it's like we have another chance to help change somebody else's life and move forward. Because sometimes you can meet somebody and they've been stuck like this. It's like groundhog. We talked about during Corona, during this COVID-19 like shutdown, it felt like people were living Groundhog Day. You ever watch the movie Groundhog Day?
I don't think so, no.
Go watch that movie. He lives the same day every day, but he sees it from a different angle every single day. It's Bill Murray.
Like I remember the name, yeah.
It is honestly one of the most fantastic movies I've ever seen in my life. Such a good movie. And then last night I watched Fight Club for the first time. I've never watched Fight Club, so it's so fresh in my mind right now. And I started reading an article about like the main character is like Jack, and then he sees himself as like Brad Pitt. So it's like Edward Norton's character like is actually Brad Pitt is actually Ed Norton's character in another form. And then the girl that is in the movie too, like is actually another version of him too. And that like each person is a part of his delusion.
Right.
What's happening around him to process his trauma. And that goes back to like seeing ourselves in people. Like, I don't know if we've talked about that before, like projections. And I believe we talked about this in our last talk. And we see ourselves and others all the time, whether we know it or not. And it's not a narcissistic thing. We genuinely, if we're dealing with something, sometimes the God, the universe, whoever you want to identify it with, will present us a mirrored image in another form for us to be able to process whatever it is we need to process. And it made so much sense. I don't know much. I'm still like, I want to go back and watch that movie again because it really had me thinking about a lot from a psychological standpoint. And it's so deep. Like they fight each other so they can feel something. So we fight, like when you argue, you feel something. That's why we try to avoid arguments or avoid the truth or confronting things or being confrontational, because that means we have to feel emotion. And we don't want to do that in today's society. It's all good vibes and it's all happiness and it's all rainbows and butterflies, but it's not. It's what what we mask our emotions with. We need to stop doing that. as a society, the cordial fades, like this cordial phase of the century needs to come to an end, and we need to cut the bullshit.
Even with the arts, the music, like,
Yep.
Like the times going on right now, it's stripped a lot of people down. It's like you get, I don't know, like you can't just be putting out any music right now. Like I won't just listen to anything right now. Like I gotta have some heartfelt, some real shit. You know what I mean? A lot of artists, especially like, I mean, I'm a hip hop artist, I'm a rapper, but in the hip hop world, like there's not a lot of music being put out that's like really the soundtrack to our life right now. You know what I'm saying? Or just like the real feeling. You know what I mean? So it's like, and the smoke and mirrors are gone right now. Like a lot of artists, like you don't got all the studios, all the bells and whistles, all the smoke and mirror. You know what I mean? It's like that's all gone right now. So it's like the purest artists, I think the real creators, it's the time for them. The real creators who are really vulnerable and like not afraid to be themselves. And like I would say like you or myself, you know what I mean? Like it's a good time for creators like us, you know what I mean? To show
I agree.
What music really is. Like this is real music. This is being yourself. This is like real DNA coming straight from the source. Like
this time period truly separated the hunters from the gatherers, you know, and like the people that are willing to go and hunt for it. Like I said, I've been doing online schooling for the I completed, you know, another portion of online schooling because I don't think I'll ever stop learning. I think I'm like, I want to learn something new now, you know, and you can do that because it's accessible. That transition, that shift stunted a lot of people's growth because they haven't known how to be self-sufficient. They don't know how to be self-taught. They don't know how to do things on their own. They're so codependent. And I think one thing is I've had to learn for myself, you want something done, you got to fucking do it yourself. Mm-hmm. You want something done right, you got to just get it done. And I struggled with that for a long time because I always did that for other people, but I never fully, the treatment, I always say, oh, like I want to treat people how I want to be treated. And it's like, well, if I want to be treated, then I got to do it for myself.
Exactly.
Like I can treat other people that way. I can love others as I love myself. You know what I mean? So I can help other people, but I also have to be helped. I can't expect them to help me too. So I can pour out what I get poured in and vice versa. I get poured into all the time and then I pour it back out. And I've talked about this with many people, and I've heard this from outside of me that we're like cups, you know, if you fill up too much, it's going to overflow. And then if it's, you know, if you're left too empty, then you don't have enough to sustain yourself. So you got to kind of keep it like right about here. You got to like, here's the water bottle. This is us. Like you got to kind of keep it like right there.
With what you're saying?
Just us as people, like what we do and what we give and what we receive. There has to be balance.
Yes, yeah.
There has to be balance. So
I have a question, random question.
Go ahead.
Music and like creators now, like what's the future look like for creators for you? Like musicians, like I know it's a loaded question, but I mean from like streaming to distribution to performance, like what is the future of like music look like to you for artists, for record?
The fakes will get exposed.
Owners. You say what?
The fakes are getting exposed and realness is on the rise, and true realness. I'm not talking about the fake. I'm keeping it real. We all know that you don't just like have strippers hanging around you every 4 minutes of the day. All right, let's keep it real. Like I'm a mom, so I'm going to portray myself like so. Because that's who I am. My day-to-day, my real shit. Like I respect people who are like vloggers, you know, that like will record themselves doing their day-to-day shit. I can't do that because that's like another form of reality TV. Okay, but I respect what they do because they're willing to let people in. But you have to constantly let people in when you do that. And some things are meant to stay private. Home front, this oversharing that we do now, it weighs people down. It really does. And people don't overshare the good stuff. They only share this like, you said persona earlier. So a lot of people overshare their persona. Are they like I know people that every step of their day they document. Like, I'm cooking and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And but so now you're setting yourself up for always having to do that, because in your mind you've always done it, so you want to keep doing it. You want people to see every single thing you do. It's unnecessary.
That's interesting. I see people who do that, and like it's a good way because they build like whatever audience or whatever. But I've seen the other part of that. What you're saying is they'll even admit, like, I'm getting tired of this. I can't come on here today because I'm, say they're on at Monday morning every day at 8 or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll come on one Monday, like, I can't, or every morning at 8. They'll be like, I can't come on, and like for the next few days I need a break, blah 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 blah. And like, I'm glad you said that, because I've even thought about that, because I've thought of ways to like let people more in and be more, you know what I'm saying, like not interactive, but let people more into my daily life, you know what I'm saying? So I've thought of ideas of ways to do that, but like, you're right about oversharing. So it's like, I don't know. It's like,
because once you start, that's what people expect. People build expectations around you as a person, and that they already have that. That's okay. This is what this person's going to do, so I can expect it. And they're going to be consistent, and they're going to keep doing it. So now you have to keep doing it and keep doing it. So now you're giving yourself away. And it goes back to what I was saying with the cup. So now you're constantly giving away, and you're left empty. You're left half full. But then, so now those people, you're giving away all of you. Now they're getting full, and it's like overflowing, and it's pouring, and it's leaving a mess everywhere.
Too much.
They're getting too much now. So people don't learn to appreciate when they have it. You know what I mean? Like, when you have too much, you're never full enough. You never feel full.
Yeah.
It's like eating. Everything in life is what you consume, and what you eat, you shit, that's it. It's out of your system, and then you got to eat again. You got to release it. You got to eat, and you got to release. Go back to what I was talking about with letting things go. It's the same thing. It happens, let it go. Happens, release it. An experience happens, you have to let it go in order to allow for new experiences to happen. Friends, family members, whatever. Sometimes you have to let things go in order for new things to come in. That's ego death. That's true ego death, is learning to just let things go when it's time for them to die, or let things go when it's time for them to pass. And it's so hard to process. And I think that's another thing, is we're so scared, man. We're so scared to die, so we live a lie. We're so scared. We avoid that conversation instead of embracing that we're here today. We're here now. So let's live this day and fully embrace it for what it is, and fully enjoy the time that we have spent. So that means if I have, right now I'm 29, if I have maybe another 45 years to live, another day to live, how did I live that day if I wasn't honoring myself and somebody else, and releasing my old experiences so that they can release their old experiences, and we can have a generation, so the next generation can have their own experiences instead of us projecting our experiences onto them.
And side note, like, you're talking about what we like eat, what we eat goes out, you know what I mean? Like, side note, like, we got to be more careful what we eat too. Like, not just food. I mean, what we process, the information we're taking, what we're reading on social media, the news we're letting in, what we hear from other people. Like, the food is super important. Like, the food, I'm noticing that in the past year or so, like, because I eat good, but I eat bad too. So I know the difference. You know what I mean? When I'm eating good and I'm on it, like, my mental's different. Like, I'm clear. I'm more focused. I'm more, you know what I mean? Moods are different. Like, when I'm eating like shit, I feel like shit. I'm tired. I'm slouchy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that has a huge thing. Like, in social media, if I'm reading, like, I'll go on, like, not on following sprees, but just like, if I notice someone's repetitively like posting negative shit or not positive shit, I'll just unfollow them or not block them, like mute them, like, because I'm not feeding that into my mind. You know what I'm saying? And the more I do that, the more I filter out my social media, it's like
you don't want to fill your mind with somebody else's shit because you have your own stuff to worry about. Like, I don't want to keep saying shit. I'm like learning how not to cuss so much, by the way. It's like, it's a learning process, but the stuff that we, like the information we take in, like sometimes I'll say things to my husband and he's like, why do I need to know that? Who cares what so-and-so did with so-and-so's cousin? It's great. Good for them. Why is that relevant to my life? And I'm like, what does he mean? You know, I never understood what he meant when he would say that to me. But now I fully understand, like, everybody else's experience, that's their experience.
Mhm.
That's not my experience. So you can transmute it. I mean, granted, you can push block or you can shut it out. You can read something and you can choose to let it in too. It's also what we decide and what we accept to take in, because just like eating, you can choose to put that in your body, or you can just look at the menu and just go, oh, cool. Next, read the menu. And then I want that. I want to eat this. So you do. So we can choose what we can read things without choosing to take them in and accepting them.
That's something to work on. You know what I mean? Even like, that could be hard though. I mean, even with me, like certain images of someone getting hurt or killed or something, like I can't watch it. Like I just won't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because like I've seen it in real life. I don't want to see it on the internet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's not right.
Yeah, like.
Because now our youth, so it goes back to what I was saying, like we're so afraid, we lie, so like we don't want to talk about dying, right? But we're dying every day. Every day we're dying. When we go to sleep, you're out. That's why they call it rest in peace, because you're resting. It's an eternal rest. But you don't know that. We don't know that. And the fact that we're so constantly afraid of how it's going to happen, that's all it is they're projecting images of what could happen to you. So now you, like, I'm not saying that this is the case, but as black male, right now, a lot of black male are afraid to go, and black women, right? They're afraid to go out because they're afraid that a cop is going to kill them.
It's been like that, yeah.
But it's been like that. And it's not to say that there aren't white kids that happens to, or Middle Eastern kids that happens to. It's not to say that that doesn't happen in every culture. But now everybody is afraid that if they go out and they're doing something, they're going to get killed. Because now it's going back to like, okay, now white kids are afraid that black kids are going to kill them, or black kids are afraid that a white kid is going to kill them, or that an Arab person is like, when a what Arab walks in, they're going to bomb the place. Oh, I'm afraid. So we're constantly afraid of this person is going to be the one that kills me. But then you end up dying of a heart attack. Think about that shit. What they're projecting onto our youth. I'm releasing a song, like it's one of my first self-produced songs, and I wrote it 2 years ago before what's happening now, it's all about technology and how it manipulates us as people. It shuts us out. It blocks us from ourselves. It's like, this is the era of machines. Keep watching the programs and memorize the speech. Think about it. How many people do you know sound like they're on a script? Everything is scripted for us now. We're told that this is how it is. So we need to be afraid of it. We need to project it and keep showing this so that you're afraid of it and make you feel shameful for all of that. Now you're ashamed because you're this or you're that. I've been told by a person, multiple people, go back to my country or do this or that. Do I think all people are like that? No. My husband's white. I might look white, but my family's from the Middle East. When I wore a hijab at one point, I was discriminated against. I wasn't black. So it happens to all different cultures. And I know white people that have been discriminated against. And I know Indians that have been discriminated against by different cultures too. I've met people that have all races that have been discriminated against. I've met Being a woman, I've been discriminated against. Being men, you've been discriminated. Being a man, you've been discriminated. All men are the same. All men are the same. All women are hoes. You know what I mean? There's levels to this shit.
But I was saying in America, there seems to be certain targets, whether it's black men, black women.
We're all targets. Nobody's exempt. Nobody's exempt.
Everyone's exempt, but it seems like there seems to be more specific targets, more certain people getting killed, certain people getting targeted, like arrested. Like that seems to be the case in my experience.
In your experience, I see things completely different. I think our minds are all
like
at war right now.
On camera. I don't see many like videos.
They're turning people against each other, man.
I don't see many other races getting killed on camera though, like in public, and from hangings to shootings to being.
But that's the point. It's what the media chooses to portray.
Yeah.
It's what social media chooses to filter.
Because I've lived in white neighborhoods, a lot of my white friends don't get scared, like, or flinch up when the cops get behind them, and like, you know what I mean? A lot of them haven't been, stereotyped or pulled over for no reason, or a cop pulls you driving and the cop pulls up beside you and he should be passing you, but now he's slowing down. Now he gets behind you and you know what I mean? Like I've lived in the hood, I've lived in the burbs, I've seen, I've gone to white schools, I've gone to majority black mixed school, you know what I mean? So like, seems to be, yeah.
I know. I mean, and we can cut this part out of it because it is like a super,
We keep it. What were you gonna say?
I know. I just don't want. I mean, like my whole thing is I don't want people to like think I'm discrediting anything. I think that right now what's going on is so much bigger than us, and it's already happened before us. So this is like shit on biblical standard, and I don't see things as black and white. I see things completely different because I've from my understanding, this has happened before. It'll happen again if we keep making the same mistakes over and over. It's just a tool to divide us even further and further and further and further and further and further because everything is polarized now. It's either you're on or you're against. But I am for. I'm never against anything because I think that it's important that we learn to differentiate between being against something and being for something. I could be for Black lives, but I could also be for protection and serving our communities. I think that police are an important part of our society. Do I think that they could be trained differently? Absolutely. But we need to be for, but instead of being against police and saying F the police, I'm saying, Black Lives Matter, but not really addressing real issues. Like I am for equal rights for every single person. I think that is absolutely necessary. I guess I didn't know that LGBT, like you can get fired for being like in the LGBTQIA community. Like I did not know that was a thing. And they just passed it in the, you know what I mean? Like in the civil courts, in the civil law. Like nobody knew that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a fight. That's not talked about. That's important that every single human, God gave us free will. We were given free will as the children of God. We were given this free chance. And what that means is being able to allow for people to make their own choices and having the freedom to do it. What's happening now is they're taking away our freedoms and they're putting them in different places. We need to wake up. We are our own undoing as the free people of this country. When we say this is what we want, we as the people said we wanted the shutdown to happen. And when it happened, what did we say? Oh my God, they're taking away. They're saying who can work and who can't work, who can do this and who can do that. And now people are like, okay, we want things to open back up. So they open things back up. And now there's this, we're going back to the 1960s again. Come on, guys.
I don't think we wanted it. I think people felt more safe that way if they shut down. It was all mandatory. It's not like the people decided for the shutdown, but
the people decided for the shutdown because the majority voted out loud, social media. We need to shut our borders just like Italy.
I thought you meant right now with the pandemic going on. I thought you meant shutting down the country so the shit doesn't spread or whatever. I thought that's what you were talking about.
They shut down states, bro. You couldn't cross over and to go into another state without being scared for your life. They were shutting down borders. You couldn't visit your family. They're telling you can't go visit your grandma. You can't go visit. So now people are like further going on to this, their phones, social media, and turning to that for their social interactions. And we're afraid to talk to our neighbor, stay 6 feet apart from our neighbor when we know that they're at home and we know they're not seeing anybody. Why can't I talk to my neighbor? Why do I have to keep my distance from my neighbor or from my grandma? Or, you know what I mean? My uncle had to go to the hospital and nobody was by his side for something that was completely unrelated. He fell down the stairs and fractured his. He could have died. And nobody could be with him in the hospital. That shit's wrong.
That shit makes no sense.
That shit is wrong. The best way to heal is being around people. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That's the best way to heal, is when you have people by your side. Granted, the nurses, God bless them, because they helped a lot of people during that time. You know what I mean? They had somebody, but when you have really somebody that you know and you hold on to, like if I had to go to the hospital and I couldn't be with my kid, that would devastate me. Mothers were being separated for their infants. That's wrong.
It's fucked up. Like, I'm trying to play devil's advocate because I could see, like, if it was or is as serious as it is or whatever, say you had it, for example, say you had it and then you went there and spread it all over the place. Like, I get that part of it, but like at that point you don't care. You're like, I don't care. I'm trying to see my person. Like, you know what I'm saying? Someone's dying. You know what I mean? So I get both sides. Like, someone's dying.
Yeah.
How dare you tell me I can't see?
I went through that. I went through such a confliction when my uncle fell down the stairs. And my aunt called me and she's crying and she's shaking and she doesn't know what to do. I went from seeing her almost every day. She watches my daughter. You know, I went from seeing her. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, they're telling us that we can't go anywhere. So we're at home. And she calls me hysterical. She's by herself, scared. Her husband is being taken by the ambulance and she can't go be with him. And he's all she has at this point. Now she's by herself. She's alone. Mm. That would give anybody, that would kill her more so than her cat. You know what I mean? That would kill her. We were scared for her that she was going to have a heart attack and die trying to process this. That's more nerve-wracking, is fear. The fear propagated at us. Right now, that goes back to what I was saying. Like, I'm not saying like there's anything wrong. We need to shout for equality, but the fear that they're propagating and injecting and what we're choosing to consume ourselves with is we're choosing that we're supposed to be afraid of the police and that they're going to kill us. We're supposed to be afraid of a bombing happening. We're supposed to be afraid of all of these things instead of addressing the real issues.
I think they are, though. I think like issues are being addressed. I think they're trying to, pass whatever laws to make it, whatever it is within the police system. They're trying to maybe take less money out from the police and put it more in the community things. It's like, even communities, like even if you think about the hood, if you took some of that money you're putting in the police and you put it into the hood and schools and whatever, the more community-oriented programs, after-school programs, like you're going to build, like my mom kept us in after-school programs, so that kept us out of trouble, you know what I'm saying? Because when we got out of school, she was still at work, so we had to fill them hours. So we had to go to the Boys and Girls Club, we had to go to this after-school program, you know what I'm saying? That kept us out of trouble. If she didn't do that, we'd probably be running the streets, and who knows, I already got into enough trouble as it was. Like,
so can I ask you a question? So your mom chose to do something and direct you on a life path. That's what we need to be doing, is not just worrying about the kids, but the parents that are giving birth to these children. Parents need to take responsibility.
But it's a cycle, though. If you're taught
it's a cycle.
Like, it's hard to break that cycle. Thankfully, my mom wasn't caught up in the cycle of like, you know what I mean? She was taught a certain way or grew up in a certain environment. My mom didn't grow up in the hood. You know what I'm saying? If you grew up in the hood and your mom grew up in the hood and your grandma grew up in the hood and the hood, you know what I'm saying? Like, and
that's generational curse, bro.
I know. And you're growing up with, so there's a mentality too. So a lot of, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people haven't even gone outside the hood because they can't afford, you know what I mean? It could be a mentality thing too. So it's like,
but that's like, okay, me and you have always talked about mental enslavement. We've talked about this, I believe, on many occasions. And that's a form of imprisonment. You're a prisoner of your own mind. You're a prisoner of your own limitations at that point. I grew up in a very messed up environment. but I chose to set myself free. We have the keys. It's up to you to choose. You can't say that this is what's happening to me because it keeps happening.
Not as easy. It's easier said than done. Like a parent.
Easier said than done. But that's the thing.
The parent is
hard work.
I'll say the environment and the parent. Those two things are huge things. You know what I'm saying? The environment and parent. But like, if the parent's already in a certain mentality and already like haven't learned certain skills or like ways to get up out of there, and they pass it down to the kids, like then you have little kids who are just like, you know what I mean? So it's like.
But that's the thing. It's hard work, man. You said it's easier said than done because anything that comes in life that's easy, it's not going to last and it's going to fizzle out.
What would be your solution? Let's talk a single mom in the hood right now, like who
teaching her how to empower herself.
Came up, that's what I'm saying. So how do we implement programs, or how do we give
programs? Yes, education first and foremost. Okay,
that's my whole point.
did.
Take some money from certain things that maybe are over budget or have super high budgets, or just say, fuck that budget. Let's just say putting more money into it. You know what I'm saying? That could help heal. So then, you know what I'm saying? You want to get into crime and stuff like that in the hood and stuff like that. People robbing, selling this, selling that. It's like, because there's not a lot of opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Like
there is a lot of opportunities. It's what we choose to.
You might not know if you're a seed.
You don't know. Somebody, okay. It goes back to what we choose to consume. If you really want to.
What if you don't have parents?
What if you don't? What if you do? What if you have absent
kids,
parents?
10, 11, 12 roaming the streets with no parents. Their mom's at their boyfriend's house or vice versa. Like dad's not, whatever. You know what I'm saying? The only food they get is at school. You know what I'm saying? They go to school and then after that, they don't even know how to eat. What if they don't have parents? Who's going to show these kids? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's layers.
Well, there's the teachers. The teachers
ain't getting paid shit. The teachers, you read the books that they ain't teaching shit in the schools. Let's look at the budget for the schools and let's go.
So what about changing curriculums? What about teaching kids budget? I mean, this has been talked about.
You know what I'm saying?
And it goes back to
need money though.
So it goes back to a long time ago, like the reason why a long time ago, the statistics for, I mean, I've heard about this and I've seen it. There used to be a heavy investment in our education system. It was mostly trades, teaching and empowering kids through trades programs. So like you had wood shop and you had auto and you had all these classes. But once you got to like high school, that's what you were learning. You were learning how to do something with your hands and learning how to do something to contribute back to society. So like the older generations know how to build houses. How many people know how to build a house with their bare hands that are our age? How many people do you know?
That know how to build a house personally? I don't know anyone that knows how to build a house, I don't think.
Because they're not teaching the youth how to do this shit, so nobody's going to be able to do it.
That's what I'm saying. Schools are fucked up.
The solution is going back to trades, man. I'm telling you, the education system, and this is what they've been doing. This isn't being talked about. People have been fighting for trades to come back into the schools for a long time, man, because they took them out and they're trying to automate everything. But let me tell you something. You need to still teach somebody how to build a computer. You can't just teach them the software that goes into the computer. You got to teach them how to build that shit too, right? How to build a house. You know how important it is?
They're probably going to have robots building computers. I don't know if they're going to have humans building computers. But
you're still going to have to learn. But that's dumbing down our society further.
That's the way it probably, for a lot of things, it's probably going that way, unless people just say, but it's like, if big business is involved with it and they control a lot of things, they're not going to be like, oh, the normal humans want it this way. They're like, nah, we got Bill. We don't give a fuck what they want. We're going to save money this way. We're going to automate shit. We're going to it's slowly happening. You go to like fast foods and they got the screens and you order the shit on the, you know what I mean? It's slow, like robots building shit, 3D printers, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll probably have.
But you still need humans to build that stuff.
There'll always be shit. Maybe not. They'll probably have 3D printers building houses if they don't already. Like, and then
what about plumbing?
Wiring and all that shit. Those humans.
Hold on, but what about plumbing?
You're not listening. That's what I'm saying. Like wiring and all that type of shit. Like you'll still need people. There'll still be, I'm sure, jobs until a certain point where you won't like. You know what I'm saying? Like
I don't foresee that happening. I think if humans have a say in anything, I think the one thing is robots can't build homes the way we can build homes using machines. I mean, granted, you're still going to have to use machines, but the person behind the machine is what makes a difference, because somebody's picking up those bricks, whether it's by hand or with a giant claw. You know what I mean?
What if that's automated one day in the future, 20, 30 years down the road?
It's not going to happen.
don't know.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's that far removed, like a house being built from like, I don't see
a 3D printer. How
like
durable
whatever
is
the
that
next
gonna be?
the evolution of a 3D printer.
I don't think so.
Like I see what you're saying, trades, but I feel like those trades and those things that people, the manual labor, all that stuff, like eventually is just gonna not. I mean, it depends on what it is, but eventually the numbers are gonna be less.
Go watch Idiocracy. Just go watch Idiocracy. Do you know how? I mean, like, okay, we were talking about this earlier, but like, I learned how to garden during quarantine. It is something so easy to do. You can do it yourself. You don't have to, if you don't want to buy food store, you can grow vegetables. It's all it is taking the time to nurture those things. It's work. At the end of the day, it's all work. Everything. It's what we choose to do. I chose to plant and learn how to like prune my garden. I believe it's called pruning, where you cut off the dead leaves so that new ones can grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A robot's not going to do that for me. Not if I have a say in it.
That's a metaphor for life, by the way. Keep going, though.
Is it a metaphor for life? I think so. I mean, we were just talking about letting things go and letting things die. And I mean, it's true. And it's like, if that's one thing that we can also pour back into the youth is teaching them how to garden. And I didn't know this shit. And because you had mentioned, like, what if you don't know? I grew up with, in my situation, education wasn't important. I dropped out of high school at 15. I didn't have, like, I thought I was enslaved myself mentally, right? I was enslaved for a very long time because I didn't see a way out. And then I'm like, if there is no way out, I have to create a way out. And it's not easy. I'm still digging myself out of that hole. I'm still like, the light is right there. It's not easy, man. The work has to be done. We have to be willing to work hard and dedicate ourselves to becoming better people. It's not just saying, well, these are my circumstances, so this is it. This is how it is. And throwing my hands up and saying, it's easy. That's the easier way to do things. We have to be willing to show people that if you want something done, like I said, you got to do it yourself. You got to do the hard work.
Some people need a finger of direct, like, hey, you ever look at it? Look over there? And then, oh, I didn't see that over there. That's all some people need. And
redirection.
And having tools and resources are those things, whether it's programs, whatever. Like,
and they are out there.
Person. It could be this conversation right here. It could be, you know what I mean? It could be whatever that comes from. Some people just need that, oh, look over there. You know what I mean? Because, like, you're preaching to the choir. We both dug ourselves. We both created a way, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I've had forces and help behind me that have helped guide me, whether it's my mom giving me the love I needed to, you know what I'm saying?
But sometimes we don't see that. Because I had outside forces trying to help me. But I'm like, you're wrong. You don't know because you didn't go through what I went through. So you can't talk to me because you don't know what I experienced. We're so hard-headed about that shit. I think I'm number one. I was so hard-headed about it. I was like, well, you don't know what I went through, so you can't say that. But how do you know that their parents didn't have to go through that? And you know what I mean? If you see somebody right now and they're what appears to be free, right, from enslavement, we call it, right? And they seem free. You don't know how many generations it probably took for them to become freed. Everything is evolution. If I was born enslaved, I'm working my ass off so that my daughter could be freed. And I'm afraid that when she grows up, people are going to think she's privileged, but they don't know the hard work that her mother had to do to get to where she is. They don't know the hard work your mother had to do to get to where she is and to get to where you are. That's the issue. We need to stop focusing on what happened and start figuring out how can we change it and really, really for ourselves, for the future generation, how we can help free those children from having to repeat these same mistakes that we keep making in history. All you got to do is read books. There's nothing new that's happening. Everything has already happened. Everything.
And outside of education, a lot of it is what's instilled in people too. You can instill hate, you can instill fear, you talked about fear earlier, instilling that from whoever's, you can instill, you know what I mean? So a lot of that's too, so that,
Yep.
that
I was afraid. Exactly. I was afraid. Dude, I lived my life in fear. I lived my life in the dark because it was easier. It was easier because it's like, well, this is how it's always been. This is it. This is how it's always been. But heaven is a place on earth and hell is also a place on earth. You can choose to be in one or the other.
What you want to live in.
So if God gave me one chance at life, people believe in reincarnation all the time, but this is the only life that I know I've experienced. I can choose to either keep myself in the dark, which I did for so long, or I can choose the light and choose to say, hey, but the light doesn't come for free. It doesn't come easy. You have to dig your way out, right? Dig a hole and plop a flower in instead and bloom that way instead of keeping the weeds growing.
I think we need to focus on solutions to play even the playing field though, between neighborhoods and cities, and you can cross certain streets and it's a completely different world and you go the other, you know what I mean? Those are issues that need to be addressed too.
And like you said, it's about redirecting, and it first starts here.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about it all we want. Starts here, it's spoken, and then the work has to be done. It can't just be empty words.
And shit needs to be exposed. Like talking about racism, all that shit needs to be exposed. Like, because there's still parents that are instilling hate and fear into their children. I won't say certain races, that can be on any race. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, like I've lived in a lot of different neighborhoods. Like I said, I got a lot of different friends from a lot of different backgrounds.
I know.
And it seems to be a certain group of people that seem to have a lot of issues with the majority of other people in the world. And those people
if only people knew. We'll talk about that a different time.
It's a whole nother
That's a whole nother ball game. We'll talk about that a different time.
Yeah. But
all right, well.
Yeah, I think I covered everything I wanted to, like.
We talked about it all. We talked about it all.
We talked about the music. Lies. Go listen to Lies.
Go listen to
Barbie is out available as well.
Barbie, I totally forgot about Barbie, and I just released another track.
What's your Instagram? What's your main portals of communication via the digital world?
So if people go to ameeraofficial.com, I have my social media links in there. As far as for the doula business and for Motivating Motherhood, they would go to motivatingmotherhood.com, and that should plug them in as well. All my social media links will be there. I will be releasing the podcast on all major platforms, God willing. And I will be putting it on SoundCloud too, which SoundCloud, part of the people. So, you have only so much, but you can upload stuff for free, and it's a great platform to get started on for people who can't afford to do distributions, because distributions cost money.
That's right.
But we're grateful for those opportunities and being able. You said, what's the future for artists, right? And we started talking, getting into deep conversation, but like realistically, like the game is different now. And we have all these outlets that we can utilize and all these resources that we can utilize is to get our art out there so that it can reach people. So shout out to, no, I'm just kidding.
What are you going to say?
Distro Kid, CD Baby, TuneCore.
Tell the artists, get right to your,
man.
Go right to your fans, your supporters, your audience. You can reach them right directly. Like,
and you can put it on, you can utilize distribution packages to put yourself on all streaming platforms. I mean, that's what we use. I use Apple Music. The majority of people I know use Spotify. Mm-hmm. We have Amazon Music too. And I didn't even realize Amazon Music is the same thing, streaming. Mm-hmm. It's all, they're all.
Play, all the, yeah.
It's all whatever you choose to use. Everything is created for different kinds of people. Mm-hmm. Goes back to, we're talking about religion. Yeah. Everything is created for different kinds of people. It's what you choose. And if there is anybody watching, I just really want to stress right now in this time, don't be afraid to, I said last time, don't be afraid to shine. This time I'm going to say, don't be afraid to feel. Don't be afraid to let the emotions come in. Stop numbing ourselves. let's really start addressing real issues, and let's fully transform ourselves into becoming the society that we want to see and the future that we want to be.
Ameera, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time again. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm excited to see everything you put out. I'll be paying attention. I'll be listening, watching the podcast.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll share it too. I'll share the information so people can follow you and figure it all out.
That.
All right. I'll see you later.